Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history, the only show where we take a single date, January 15th, and ask, why is this day doing more work than Congress on a recess week? Today is a buffet of coronations, catastrophes, revolutions, molasses tsunamis, football games nobody showed up to, online encyclopedias run by volunteers, and one goose-related miracle. It's the kind of date where history wakes up and says, let's cause problems, professionally. Segment 1, sovereignty, crowns, and countries trying to figure out who's in charge. January 15th is a day where nations collectively sit down and go, so, who's running this thing? We open in 1559, where 25-year-old Elizabeth Tudor gets crowned queen, a woman inheriting a broke kingdom, a religious crisis, and a coronation date chosen by her astrologer. That's right, England was literally run by star charts. Imagine the State of the Union starting with, folks, Mercury's in retrograde, so we're invading France. Elizabeth walks into Westminster Abbey. It's technically still a Catholic service, but she refuses to participate in the part where the bishop elevates the host. That is some power move. It's like attending a barbecue but refusing to look at the grill. Her entire service was half Catholic, half Protestant, and fully, do not start a war while I'm still putting the crown on straight. Flash forward to January 15th, 1992. Croatia and Slovenia get recognized by the entire European community, which is basically Europe saying, congrats, your country's now. Please stop shooting. Germany, of course, speeds ahead like the kid who volunteers in class before hearing the whole question. It reshapes the Balkans, reshapes Europe, and reshapes a whole generation of maps in middle school classrooms. Meanwhile, in 1970, Nigeria ends its civil war. Biafra surrenders, millions are starving, and General Gowon announces, no victor, no vanquished, which is the historical equivalent of parents saying, I don't care who started it, everyone apologize. A nice idea, but like most nice ideas in politics, it comes with asterisks. And then, 1949, India celebrates Army Day as command transfers to K.M. Cariappa, the first Indian commander-in-chief. It's the moment India finally says, thanks for the empire, but we'll be driving this thing ourselves now. Britain, somewhere off stage, clutches its pearls. Segment 2, museums, wikis, and birthdays of people who changed culture forever. January 15th is also a great day for nerds, and I say that lovingly, as a man whose idea of rebellion is reading footnotes. In 1759, the British Museum opens its doors to the public, except not really, because you couldn't just walk in. You had to apply in writing, get vetted, and then be escorted through the halls like you were adopting a puppy made of porcelain. It was a museum built on Enlightenment ideals, and also built on colonialism, and slavery, and treasure hunting, and at least one guy who really liked labeling jars. So basically, it's the 18th century version of Wikipedia. Except Wikipedia isn't full of stuff that was borrowed indefinitely. Then, exactly 242 years later, January 15th, 2001, Wikipedia launches. The founders wanted to create a traditional encyclopedia first, but that got them 12 articles in a year, which is basically Congress-level productivity. So they went, forget it, let the entire internet write it. And boom, we got the only place where you can learn quantum physics, the plot of Shrek, and the biography of every Pokemon in the same hour. January 15th also gives us Moliere's baptism, the man who invented comedy with depth. He roasted hypocrisy while being sponsored by Louis XIV, which is like making fun of your boss while he's standing behind you holding your paycheck. And in North Korea, January 15th is Hangul Day, celebrating the creation of the Korean alphabet, which, of course, South Korea celebrates on a totally different day because even the calendar has to be divided on the peninsula. Segment 3, disasters and revolutions that should have come with warning labels. January 15th, 1919, the Great Molasses Flood hits Boston. A tank burst, creating a 25-foot wave of molasses going 35 miles per hour, something no one has ever requested on purpose. People and horses get stuck, buildings collapse, and suddenly the sweetest substance on earth becomes the most horrifying slip and slide of all time. The company blamed anarchists, which is always a great excuse when your giant tank leaks brown goo because you never tested it. After 6 years of hearings, a judge says, yeah, no, this was just engineering done by people who apparently hated math. Also on January 15th, 1919, Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht are assassinated by the Freikorps after a failed uprising. Luxemburg, one of the greatest socialist thinkers in history, gets murdered, sparking a political fracture that helps clear the runway for the rise of extremism. Germany basically said, what if the far right handled this? And history went, ooh, bad idea. Let's put a pin in that. We'll revisit it in 14 years. Segment 4. Hollywood noir, media circus, and the case that should have stayed out of headlines. Jump to 1947. Elizabeth Short, later sensationalized as the Black Dahlia, is found in a Los Angeles lot. Newspapers turn it into a horror movie marketing campaign, calling her a femme fatale instead of, a real person who deserved justice. Reporters literally tricked her mother into giving details by saying her daughter won a beauty contest. Imagine being the kind of human whose job description is lie to grieving mothers. It becomes the blueprint for every noir trope Hollywood ever loved. Femme fatale, mystery man, dark city, shadowy streets. The case remains unsolved, but the media wasted no time solving a crime that existed only in their imagination. Segment 5. Buildings too big, games too empty. January 15th, 1943. The Pentagon is completed. 6 million square feet, 17.5 miles of hallways, and somehow every meeting still ends with, let's circle back next week. It's built in just 16 months because when there's a war on, architecture gets done fast. Meanwhile, my kitchen remodel has taken 7. It uses minimal steel because steel was for tanks. It uses so much concrete that geologists probably had to ask, guys, where'd the river go? Then, in 1967, Super Bowl I is held. The only Super Bowl that didn't sell out. Imagine telling Americans today that a Super Bowl had empty seats. Empty seats. People saw the words World Championship and went, I've got laundry. It aired on 2 networks because the leagues couldn't agree on anything except the need to share the spotlight, like divorced parents at a piano recital. Segment 6. Heroes, holidays, and a plane landing in the only spot available. January 15th also brings us Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, a man whose legacy was so powerful it took Congress 15 years, millions of signatures, and Stevie Wonder writing an absolute banger before they finally said, okay, fine, a holiday. Then, 2009, the miracle on the Hudson. A flock of geese takes out both engines on U.S. Airways Flight 1549. Captain Sully Sullenberger says, we're going to be in the Hudson, with the energy of a guy announcing that his table is ready at Applebee's. He lands the entire plane on the river, perfectly. Every single passenger survives. Ferries show up like they were waiting for it. And while all this is going on, India and Nepal celebrate Makar Sankranti, a solar festival marking longer days, harvest celebrations, and an entire subcontinent going, let's fly kites and eat sesame sweets because we have earned this. In conclusion, January 15th is not just a date. It is history's favorite overachiever. Crowns are placed, nations are born, tanks explode, museums open, revolutions fail. Airplanes glide into rivers like swans. Wikipedia appears and says, hey, what if everyone became a librarian? And humanity, for once, agrees. If one day can contain all this, then maybe, just maybe, the chaos of our present is just future historians' favorite date waiting to happen.